Good morning, everyone. Beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Beautiful Sunday. I get to be outdoors and record. Love being outdoors and being able to record. Okay, we're going to light the chalice this morning. The reason why we're lighting the chalice this morning is going to be for the change of the world. Just how different everything has been in the past 5 weeks. Has it really been 5 weeks? Oh, birds, squirrels, all the wonderful. It's been a while. I mean, yesterday. Okay, so Church of the Holy Nerd. We're gonna start off with some nerd stuff. Yesterday was Community Day for Pokemon Go. For those of you that don't know, Community Day is when they pick a special Pokemon and they have alternate colored versions of it they call shinies that they release that you can catch. Just like every 1 in 21 you encounter of that type ends up being an alternate variant one. There are special bonuses and stuff like that. And it just ends up being a day for people to get out and enjoy the day. So, of course, I decided, well, it's Community Day. Haven't gone for a walk. Need to do some walking for my exercise, not just punches and sit-ups, but I got to get some cardio in there. So that's right, Nora. Cat's out here. So anyways, I was heading into town. I start walking around. Have one of my friends out driving around. They're playing Pokemon Go, and we're talking. He's like, "Oh, get in the car," and I'm like, "Nah, I'm gonna walk." My goal was to go out and get exercise. My goal wasn't to play the game. My goal was to get the exercise. But playing the game does help, especially a couple of years ago when it first came out. I really got into it because it's that whole thing of it rewards you for walking. You get the little Pokeball lights up and flashes and goes, "Woo, you caught a Pokemon," or "You spun a Pokestop," and you feel rewarded. You feel like I'm doing something cool. You're getting some bells and lights and whistles and everything. No, Nora, you can come that far, but you can't come to the camera. She'll knock it over and go, "Oh!" And then we'll end the recording that way. But so I'm going out for my Pokemon walk, see one of my friends, talk with them. They go off and drive around and play. Start walking closer into town. I'm like, oh, wow. So I've gotten this far. It took me about 45 minutes. I could totally walk to work in an hour. Once, the world goes back to normal, or as close to normal as anything ever was. And another friend stops and talks to them, and they're like, oh, yeah, I gotta play, but I gotta go pick up the girlfriend and everything. And get downtown, and I'm like, well, yeah, downtown. I've been there a couple times, but I hadn't noticed a lot. Almost everything was closed. Last couple times I was down, the movie theaters got the whole "we're closed for now" sign up on the marquee, and the restaurants are all got this temporary closed notices in the window. But this time, when I finally get downtown, we have for those of you that don't know Holton, we have what's called Monument Park. It's a place that's got the plaques for the those that fought in a Civil War, World War I, World War II, Korea. It's got all the different names of all the different times people from the town of Holton have fought in wars. And it's got all the war monuments. And it also has the amphitheater in town that people donated money in memory of past family members and businesses and stuff like that. And they've got all their little monuments on the bricks. It's Monument Park. It was built after the Great Fire. But it's also where the library is. And it's also where the burger bus, which if you ever get to Northern Maine, everybody says they go to Grandma's Country Inn for the best burger and fries. Well, yes and no. The burger bus is actually the best fries in Aroostook County. Grandma's Country Inn just gives you quantity. And anyways, the burger bus was open. I'm like, wow, the burger bus is open. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. There's a food truck, so it's not... there's no restaurant, no inside. People are outside. People come up to the window. They get their food. They leave. And then I start thinking about how I walked past Holton Farms Dairy Bar, which, again, best milkshakes in all of Aroostook County. All of Maine, really. Like, I have not had a better milkshake than Holton Farms Dairy. But anyways, Holton Farms Dairy, they're boarded up. They've actually added on. They used to have a little porch, so it had like how this has got this little tiny strip of awning reaching over. They would have like a whole thing, and I would be standing. If I was at Holton Farms Dairy, the old Holton Farms Dairy, I'd be actually standing underneath of the awning with the window right behind me as far away as the door to the top of the garage here. And but yeah, that's all enclosed now. So, and they've got barricades to keep people in file and social distancing, and it's just like they're getting ready to open. You can't be under the awning anymore. You gotta like keep 6 feet apart. And it's like, wow, that's kind of weird. The burger bus is open, but the burger bus is just like people just stand around in a park, wait for their name to be called out, and then they come up to the thing, and it's like, okay, we're waiting for the next person. Come take an order. So social distancing can happen with that, but we can't have, Bastion's Tavern, and we can't have Wired, which is a nice internet cafe, and we can't have the Down Under Sports Bar, but we can have the county co-op cafe bakery type place because it's also a grocery store, and it's like I'm really confused. And I keep walking on my walk because I'm still there playing Pokemon, and get through downtown Holton to the other side of downtown Holton. There's a little walking bridge that goes across the Meduxmacake River, and there's a couple picnic tables, but they're like spread out. They're like 10, 12 feet apart. But there's these two that are underneath of them. Again, another pavilion. And it's just two picnic tables side by side with a little awning, cover over the top of them. And all wrapped around the awning. And that's the cover photo for this video, is this caution tape that people can't be there, but they can be anywhere else they want to be in the park. But they can't be sitting around picnic tables. And it's really making me think about how really divided we're starting to become again. Like, there was this moment at the beginning of the COVID-19 where it's like, yes, in solidarity, we're all going to stand here and we're going to support our care providers and our essential workers. But the more it goes on, the more that like camaraderie, that spirit of we're all in this together is slowly just being chipped away. And it's become, to use a gaming analogy, it's like when you got a stingy DM and they're not handing out like magical items and treasure a lot. So everybody's just kind of like, okay, man, I need this. This is going to be my cut. And you're getting people that are just kind of like really starting to think of that whole thing of like, I need to get mine, which, we had a little bit of that in the beginning. We had the whole everybody runs out and hoards toilet paper and, buying up mass quantities of stuff. But now it's becoming this whole thing of like, instead of like hoarding everything, it's like, okay, we got to find out what team everybody's on. And we're going back to this team mentality. I'm seeing a lot more in the news and social media, and especially with the protesting, where we're starting to get political over this whole issue, where you got people that are down in certain states are like, well, how come the governor, he's friends with the people that run big business, and I've got a small business, and I can't open my business. And I see that going down through downtown Holton. On my Pokewalk, on Pokemon Go Community Day, I'm walking through town, and I'm seeing that, well, this business gets to be open, and this business gets to be open, but you gotta change how this business works in order for it to open, and these businesses need to stay closed, and it's just like, and I'm not saying that some of the businesses that I've talked about that are still open have have ties to the political elite in the town of Holton, but I'm not saying they don't. And I'm not saying that some of the businesses that aren't allowed to continue operation don't have political connections, because some of them do. But it's this whole thing of, the longer this goes on, I think the bigger the divide is going to be. And the things that bring us back together, the things that unite us, the things that build community, the premise this channel is founded upon is spirituality, gaming, coffee, art, music. It's nerd culture. Movies, TV shows, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon Go, Warhammer 40K, all those things I love to do. They're social things. Yes, there's a few things you can do in isolation, that training aspect of gaming, where you're like, well, yeah, okay, reading a book and studying stuff and designing a dungeon and going into the tomes of the game to do your research to get better and present something better when you come to the table again is great. And building more minis and painting more minis, yeah, those are the stuff you can do in isolation, but the end result is you spend time in isolation in order to have a better experience when you come together as a group. And, I'm running out of stuff to do in isolation. I mean, yes, I could probably start building a few more Magic decks, but I'm not really inspired because I don't know when this next time I'm going to sit down and play Magic is. So I don't really want to do that. I am inspired to do some D&D research and some Star Wars RPG research, because, creating a campaign and designing that whole story does take a lot of work. I mean, it's probably my next project, but I know for Warhammer 40, well, excuse me, I'm drinking Red Bull in my coffee this morning. It's not actually coffee and Red Bull, it's just Red Bull in my coffee cup. I try to find more minis to paint and build my armies, so when I come out of this, I have enough stuff so I can be like, hey, yeah, you guys want to play 40K? Here's some dudes and here's some dice and let's play. But, it's becoming harder and harder because there's no shops that are open selling the stuff. There's no distributors that are resupplying the people that have stuff that are selling online. There's no factories supplying the distributors. The whole chain of the supply chain for gaming has fallen apart, and it's starting to become more and more noticeable every day. And so I've got to work with what I've got, and I'll tell you one thing, in isolation, painting and building minis has really been my jam. It's been what's been keeping me just occupied, keeping my hands busy. But again, it's a means towards an end that I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that end again. And the more I think that we stay isolated, the more that we're not talking and communicating with each other face to face. I mean, yes, we can Zoom call and we can Facebook message and we can play games on the internet with each other, all we want. But in the end, it's still, gaming is about being in community and communion and covenant with each other in a physical presence. It's not about online, and some people are like, well, I can understand online, it's good. And it's like, yeah, but if you're, I don't know, it's just, online gaming to me has never been a thing. And if it's your thing, that's cool. You can enjoy it. But for me, it's about the socialization. It's about interacting with other people. It's about seeing people and hearing people and feeling the presence of other people in a way that you can't feel over the internet. And when you get that, that lets you realize that the world is not just you. And and there's a thing that you learn in sportsmanship. When you spend so much time not interacting with other people, it's easy to forget how the empathy of how you need to be able to realize that, yeah, just because you won, but your opponent didn't have fun. You crushed them and defeated them, and sometimes that feels good and it's great, but it's not all the time. And it's more about it's the whole reason why I stopped really going so hard with Magic before everything started happening. I started backing off. I wanted to give other people a chance to win. I wanted to play something that I suck at so I can improve. I wanted to get better. I don't want to stay the best at one thing. I always want to get better at all sorts of different stuff. Because other ways of doing things and other games will teach me stuff to be able to do stuff better in another way. But I'm in isolation. I'm by myself. I can't do the nerdy things that I love with others. And it sucks. And I don't know. It just seems really like the more it goes on, the more people get divided. And the more separated I feel from others, the less connected I feel, the less on the same page, the less. And it's really hard to communicate that. And I'm afraid, I'm so afraid that that's going to be what happens with the world. The more we stay isolated, the more we stay 6 feet away from each other, the longer our gaming stores stay closed, the longer we're not together at church, the longer we're not together at work, the longer we're not together at schools, the more people can be like, well, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't really need to focus on doing this, and I really don't need to focus on doing that. And it just becomes this whole thing of the motivation, the drive, the camaraderie, the willingness to be better or to be a better person isn't going to be there because you're so stuck in survival mode that you're not able to get past being in survival mode. And it's still that survival mode need of my team versus your team, my tribe versus your tribe, my survival versus your survival. That has always been gaming and religion, hand in hand. Those two things have always tried to overcome that, to break it down, to go, no, we can, gaming became a way for us to have conflicts with each other without resorting to physical violence and killing each other. We went from having wars with each other to being able to have sports with each other. We went from being able to have sports to being able to have mental exercises with each other, where people was well, I can't compete physically with you, but what if I can compete mentally with you? And we created chess. And, we had people that wanted to create strategic battle war games. We're well, I'm old and I'm retired. I've got a bad leg and I can never fight and be a soldier, but I can take this little lead miniature of Napoleonic figurine and I can move it across the table in my basement and I can fight these historical battles. And we got historical battles, and that birthed Dungeons and Dragons, where instead of it being Napoleonics and World War II, let's do some Lord of the Rings and dragon hunting and stuff like that. And that became chainmail, and chainmail became D&D, and then you had across the world in Europe where it was instead of Napoleonics, why don't we have dudes from outer space and bug-eyed monsters and aliens, and we'll have space orcs and all that crazy shenanigans where people just kept throwing stuff into it and outspat Warhammer 40K, But that's the thing. Gaming came as a way for us to interact with each other without it being a conflict. And when the game was over, we could put the game away and say, well, things are done. But now we've stopped playing games and we've gone, and politics ends up being the whole thing of like, I swear to God, this Republican Democrat stuff has basically become like the whole thing. It's as bad as a Boston Red Sox and Chicago, in not Chicago, but Boston Red Sox and New York Yankees. It is as bad as that. And honestly, that rivalry between those two teams, the fact that there's like, I don't know. I know there's a lot more than just the baseball, than just New York and Boston. But because that's all people ever talked about, that's the whole reason why I don't like baseball. Part of the reason why I don't like politics is just the whole fact of like, I don't care. There's other options out there, people. There's other, you can't just have, it's like chocolate versus vanilla. It's like, yeah, but there's also strawberry. It's like, nobody likes Neapolitan ice cream. I'm like, all right, fine. But what really burns my bacon is the whole fact of the matter is we are still in the middle of a global crisis, and everybody wants to debate over like which one of their people is right and who's going to do the proper job on leading us out of this crisis, when it's the whole fact that we haven't really gotten through, and everybody just wants to like point fingers and yell names and just like, come on, people. We are still in a crisis. The world is changing in ways, and things are, the world is never going to be the same the way it was before this ever again. Whole ways of life and businesses and just, hammer-damba. But, whole businesses and ways of life and communities are being destroyed. And people want to fight over whose political party is right. When, the world is never going to be the same after this. I don't even know if the gaming lifestyle that I used to enjoy, the thing that kept me sane and kept me going and gave me a sense of belonging and the ability to be a leader and the ability to be a teacher, and fostered those things of wanting to be a spiritual leader and wanting to be a spiritual teacher, as well as an educational provider and to be a mentor to young adults. That gaming community and gaming's culture is what fostered all of that in me and made me wanting to start broadcasting on YouTube and to start the Church of the Holy Nerd, because it is how the universe, how the divine spoke to me was as a nerd. And to see people just keeping up the same old argument that doesn't need to be always fought over at a time when it's like, listen, this whole two-party shenanigan stuff did not work to keep us from getting here. It didn't work to alleviate everything. It's not going to work to get us through. What we need is people of all different types of ideas sitting around and not just being, one side of the room yelling at the other side of the room. We need everybody to sit down and be like, okay, we are all equals. We're all in this together. What do we want to do? How do we want to go forward? And you can't be fighting with somebody over the basic differences of like which team they're on. And that goes for politics, religion, sexual orientation, gender, skin color, nationality. Nobody. There's so many things in the world we get to look at and say that, we can't discriminate because nobody has control over this. Well, then, at the same time, we need to say that we can't discriminate because, well, that's how they're wired. We just need to work together. We need to get things back to somewheres they used to be. And I'm hitting 25 minutes this morning. But yeah, no, the world is changing, and I'm scared not just of how it's changing, but where we're going to go with everything. So that's my candle of concern today, is just how different the world is, and how I don't know what the world is going to be like, and how much of normal I'm going to be able to get back after this. I know I miss my friends. I miss my family. I miss my girlfriend. I miss my gaming rivals. I miss my shop. I miss my church. I miss my students. I miss my school. I miss grad school. I miss my fellow seminary students. I just want this to... I just want this to get back to some place where it was before. And maybe that's with smaller groups, and maybe it's not a huge, crowded, big competitive Magic tournament with hundreds and thousands of people. Maybe it's just, I want to be able to have 4 friends over, sit around the pool table, play some games, have some fun, enjoy the company of others. That's all I really want. I don't want to just listen to people fight and bicker and argue. I just want to see everybody work together and make the world a better place. Get us back to where we need to be. Yeah. One of the Magic podcasts I listened to, they would always end with the comment, "Stop bitching, start brewing." And that really is the thing. It's like, if you got all this energy and you think, well, I need to call people out, and I need to fight for my team. Fight for humanity. Fight for all of us. Do whatever you can do. Take that energy that you've got and put it somewhere useful. I mean, if you're unable to go out and volunteer, then find out if you've got a crafting skill and you just make some stuff for people. The stuff that people need. If you got a sewing machine, just start sewing masks. Don't think about the whole fact that possibly the person that's probably going to save somebody's life is of a different religion, a different political alignment, a different gender. Don't even think about that. Think about the whole fact that you need to do something to help others out. So, stop bitching, start fighting. Because we're in it for the numbers. This is survival, people. We're in it for the numbers. I tried to give a message of hope these past couple weeks. But there's a time for hope, and there's a time for action. I guess it is time for action. So, if you stuck with me this far, I want to thank you for listening. Remember to like, subscribe, share, all that cool stuff. And again, thank you, bless you, may the force be with you. I'm out.